Taking up boobies. Roll one, see one, take one.
Oh,
Me too. Hello, everyone. We're the Continuity Crew back again with a little video. I don't know. What is this? What episode? It doesn't matter.
This is
This is
stream report.
Who
Or
stream exactly? Let's combine them. Streaming Junkies. Gonna cover thinking of ending things. I'm thinking of ending.
I'm thinking of ending.
I'm thinking of ending things. Little review, analysis, whatever you want to call it. We're going to do a little non-spoiler section, spoiler section. This movie, I'm thinking of ending things. Director, Charlie Kaufman, written by Charlie Kaufman. And it's based off a book by Ian Reed, starring Jesse Plemons. Gosh, I'm sorry. Jesse Buckley. Huh, I didn't know that. They're both named Jesse.
Jesse.
That's kind of integral almost to the plot, too.
Yeah.
And that's the actor's name. Tony Collette and David Thelwis, and I'd say those are the four who matter.
That's Nigel Thornberry.
He's what's it?
He was in Wonder Woman.
Yes.
He played,
oh yeah, he was Ares.
Yeah, he was Ares.
Oh well. Anyways, let's just hop into it. We got a little note thing so we can stick on task and task. Pronounce will, teeth in the tongue, teeth in the lips.
I was very what do you call that? The director.
Yes.
He made a movie, like his first movie. Sinaniki. Fuck me. Sinaniki.
Yeah, the two I've seen, I definitely know are Being John Malkovich and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and those are definitely very reminiscent of this movie.
I haven't found Sinaniki yet because I've been looking for it, but then I've been busy this week, so I really want to watch that. This movie isn't for everyone.
It is not for everyone.
No.
Absolutely not. I think you could like talk someone into it and they still be, but it's definitely, it wasn't for me my first watch, I'll say. Like I was just like, it took me a couple watches, not watches, but like sit throughs, because I was like, I'm kind of bored now. But my second watch, I watched it the whole way through. I'm like, oh wow, this is good, because you kind of get some clarity near the end. And
it was very clear that it's not for everyone, because I watched this with Shay, and like at the very end of it, I thought I didn't know anything about this movie, because you just recommended it to me, and I said, yeah, well, I'll go watch it, and just for the funs of it. But it's not for everyone, because there's definitely some slow pacing.
Yes.
And some complex.
Not even complex. I feel like a lot of the scenes are just unnerving, and you're just like, what am I watching? Why am I watching?
It really gets you confused.
Yes, and it's not necessarily confusing. It's just like, why is this happening? Why is this happening in this movie? And what's the point of it all? And I feel like you do get clarity in the end for some things. Some things I even questioned near the end, actually.
Well, if you just watch
my notes on my phone,
if you watch this maybe just as a movie,
then
you're definitely gonna miss out on a bunch of things.
Yes.
Second viewing was definitely more eye-opening.
Yes, I agree.
Easier to keep track. But then again, the first time I was watching, I missed a lot of things.
Oh, I did too.
I think we're going to talk about some of the other things in the spoiler section. The stuff that I just missed.
And one thing, this movie, very, very haunting. Like, it just, even the atmosphere of it all is very, like, I don't know. It's very scary. It's like a horror movie, but it's not. Yeah.
It took me maybe about 4. I watched this movie 4 times.
I watched it twice.
And maybe the third time I watched it, that's when I really just enjoyed it and appreciated it. You don't necessarily get 100% understanding of this movie.
Yeah, definitely.
Just even by watching it 3 times. But, there's a lot of underlying meanings.
And there's so many different things, I guess. Different, things you can pick up on and miss or pick up the next time. Yeah.
To save everyone some time, I love this movie.
I do as well. It did take me a couple times to watch it the first time, but after rewatching it the second, I was like, wow, this is really good. It does remind me a lot of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and Being John Malkovich.
And if you don't do a movie like this right, it becomes really boring and really annoying. This is a hot take. Like the Joker. The Joker, this movie kept me engaged, and the Joker, it was very predictable. Like everything in it was very predictable. It was very basic. I'm just saying, this movie was more.
I don't see these comparable to those.
This is comparable because it's mainly psychological.
I guess, but
and
that's
everything about it. No, well, I don't know about that, but straight from the beginning of this movie, you got narration and stuff, and you have understanding that this movie isn't about the girl actually.
Yeah.
Unlike in the Joker, where they just kind of hand you, or they hold your hands while you're watching the Joker, and they tell you almost immediately, even, especially with that doctor, where she was like, "They don't care about you," blah blah blah, and then in that scene, in the subway scene, where there was those three guys.
So good.
I hated that movie. I gotta tell you this much.
I know. I know.
No, it's.
You're getting sidetracked.
I am, but I'm trying to make this movie more appealing to people, but that's definitely going to be difficult.
You just have to watch it.
Yeah.
You just have to watch it. I don't think there's any way to make this appealing, because if you just try and tell them about the movie, you're like, well, that sounds stupid.
It does.
But then you watch it and you're like, oh, okay. But impressive things like about this movie altogether. Just the performances, without a doubt. I feel like all the actors I named, like the big four people, both Jesse's, Toni Collette, and the
Nigel Thornberry,
the dude from Harry Potter. That's what I know. He's the
what's his name? I have it written down, but like his name is
David Thewlis.
Yeah, I don't remember his name. The impressive part about this movie to me is just it doesn't tell you immediately what this movie is about.
The screenplay, definitely. Just how it moves and flows.
And it just goes back and forth,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't take you out of it.
Not at all. I would, yeah. It's, and that's one thing, like, that's kind of a spoiler, but some stuff goes back and forth.
I definitely forgot.
Yeah, mentioning the DCU, he's got to put money in the bucket if we mention DC
or MC.
MCU. So, but the going back and forth between certain characters changing a little, that was very seamless.
Oh, that was perfect. I liked that a lot.
And sometimes it happens in the beginning of the movie, and I didn't even notice. Like,
oh yeah, I didn't notice that in the first.
Yeah, the second time I watched it, I was like, oh,
that's Jesse Plemons, and that's not the janitor anymore.
Oh well, no, not even that. I mean the parents, like, changing from
old to young.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I was avoiding it because we're not spoilers yet. But yeah, sure.
We'll just say it's
it's fine. It's fine. That's what I was saying.
They don't know which part.
I guess, but that's very seamless. Like, there's one when they're introduced, they change ages within the first minute afterwards. And
okay, now that's spoiler.
Wow, well, what? How's that a spoiler?
Well, that's kind of a spoiler.
That's the same thing you just said.
No, it's not.
Whatever you say, buddy. Anyways, continue. Just impressive things about this movie. Really, the performances is what stood out to me. And I mean, the screenplay, like I said, just how seamless it feels. And a lot of this movie is just talking.
Yeah.
But it's very next point. And there's no lull in the conversation.
You really have to pay attention to the conversations and the dialogue.
Yes.
For this movie to make sense to you.
Mm-hmm.
From the beginning, you can really tell the scene where they were just in the car and they were just talking. You can really tell that you really need to pay attention to that stuff. I remember watching it. This was before I texted you while watching.
All right.
I was thinking this feels like a book.
Yes, and it is.
It is a book, yeah. And I think the reviews really praise this movie for kind of keeping the themes of the book.
Yes, I bet it. I mean, I bet it does. I haven't read the book, but I would assume so.
I want to read it if I had the time.
Yes.
But overall, the dialogue is amazing.
Yes.
Every technical aspect of this movie is great. The camera work, the direction.
Mm-hmm. I like even I said the screenplay being the flow of it all. I mean, just the entire flow of the movie. It's just It seems like there's no I don't know, stopping point, I guess, in the movie, because I feel like some movies have a resting stop.
Yeah.
Almost. This just goes, and there's no time. There's no explaining until the very end, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, no. The entire time you're watching this movie, it's engaging because you want to know what happens. You want to pick up on things that might give you the plot. And it really doesn't completely. It just gives you bits by bits, and it doesn't tell you straight up what it's about. It waits until the end. Even till the end, it's a sort of.
It's still up in the air almost if you're not. If you didn't even pay attention, or just you may just not have picked up on it.
Yeah. So this movie is very psychological.
Yes.
It's really about suicide and about the janitor thinking about suicide. I don't really know what else to say without spoiling it, so I feel like we should just
get into the spoilers. Spoilers for I'm Thinking of Ending Things starting.
I'm gonna give a time code right here for the end of it. So spoilers.
Jake's the janitor.
Okay. That was quick. Jake's the janitor.
Yes, girl's not real.
You think so?
I don't think she's real. I think he may have met this girl at some point in his life, but she's not there. They're not actually going to dinner or. No,
the point of the movie is, it's going back and forth with the fantasy of the janitor. So when you're watching this movie, it seems pointless that they would go back and forth with the janitor, but when you go back to the janitor, he's influenced by whatever's around him sometimes. For example, like the scene where he was watching TV and it was talking, they had, in that, while he was watching that TV, there were two characters that were having a kind of confrontational.
Yes. They talk about, it's like they love each other and they're in a diner and she's an animal rights lawyer or something.
And then, it cuts to us watching the TV. So basically
it almost becomes its own scene.
Yeah. There were nuances where it would tell you that it's the janitor, but it just gets really confusing.
I mean, even in the beginning, though, there's like one scene where it cuts to him looking out a window, and then it cuts to Jake looking out, like young Jake.
Jake, yeah.
There's one thing like that I definitely decide like the girl's like not real, or at least their whole like driving and everything. She like can't tell time. She doesn't know how long they've been together. That she doesn't know.
Well, because it's a fantasy,
Yeah, well, exactly.
He was
like
trying to make up his mind for it.
It's
like he was deciding on the spot, like how he would imagine them together if he actually did make a move on that girl.
But he didn't.
He didn't. That's the spoiler of the movie. Is that this was just all in his fantasy.
This is how he wanted to simp, but he didn't simp.
He didn't simp.
No simp.
Unlike Will, who simps all the time. What do you think is the movie really about?
Suicide.
Okay. That was quick.
I mean, it is. Like, it's him contemplating the entire time of just like, oh, how my life could have been, and I want to die.
Yeah, and he's trying to stay away from it too at times, and then that thought keeps coming back.
He doesn't want to think about death, but it keeps like coming back.
Yeah.
Like there's one in the beginning, or there's the billboards with like the pig, and the pig's like, come with us. Like, come with, but it's from the girl's perspective.
Yeah.
But even still, it's the girl is essentially Jake as well. Like the three of the characters are Jake essentially.
Yeah.
Almost all of it's Jake because it's all in his head. Even the parents act a certain way because that's how he viewed them. Like his mom's very not passive aggressive, but almost confrontational with certain things. And
the way I see it, and it probably is, I don't know. The way I see it is that the way his mom and his parents in general are shown in the movie, that's like what annoyed him about his parents.
Yes.
And he at one point he snaps, and maybe he's never been that mad before, but he just wants to show
it's how he wanted to act, and how like I would say that's like I was saying, like how he viewed his parents. And that was, when you think about a person, you view them as, oh, snarky, oh, a happy person, passive aggressive, and but he only has that one or a few characteristics for them, and that's what he does for them. Like his mom's sweet and knowing, but also almost nosy and
annoying in general.
Yes. But Toni Collette kills it. I love her so much.
Oh yeah, the when they were going through the aging thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they were
So
getting
in
old, super
the
old.
movie, just to be clear, the parents age backwards and forwards throughout their stay at the house before like they leave. It's all in Jake's mind, like we said, but we're almost going back and forth in time, but all in this one visit. And Jake's almost like nothing's changing, while the girl's like, "What's going on? Why is this happening?"
It gets really confusing if you just. Anyways, the way they were getting old was pretty cool, and it was perfect because when they do old characters, or when they have young people go into old, like they age them.
Yes.
Sometimes they don't make an effort to put details like the teeth and the way
Yes.
they speak or walk, and one person had a hunch on his back. They don't do that
I
often.
think they did a very good job of doing that, and I would too, like the makeup department and probably some effects too. Maybe, I don't know. It could have all been practical, but the fact, also just the actors, like being able to do all that so well. And I know both of them are very, very good actors. Like, she's definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, and everything in this movie is just very purposeful.
Yes, everything has a purpose. Everything has a reason it's happening, why it happens a certain way. It's just written so well, and it's almost impressive. He went from a book to almost writing a screenplay for it.
Yeah,
I don't know how the book goes, but I would assuming it's not exactly this,
it's
but
not
it
word
does
for word or anything.
Yes.
Yeah, so it doesn't go the detail of the book normally how they would show it, but it does. You do read it. You do watch this movie like you would read a book. And I thought that was very cool.
Almost like a book. A movie it kind of reminds me of, and it's not necessarily the same genre whatsoever, but Ad Astra. Ad Astra to me was like reading a book about space, and just specifically just space.
Yeah, I need to watch that.
I highly recommend it. It's like the visual effects are great, and just the feeling of it all. It's almost like this movie, they even say it in the movie, it's melancholic, like she likes melancholy or whatever. That movie's very melancholic, and you really feel like space in that movie.
It's very gloomy.
Yes. What are some certain parts of the movie that you feel either gave it away, and then we'll get to what do you feel you still don't get? Like what gave away the Jake part, and stuff that still kind of doesn't add up for you?
To me, okay, so first, I didn't really know, so I was just...
Well, I will say, whenever you watched it the first time, you texted me and said, you nailed it, like, the first thing you guessed. Yeah. I was like...
The Jake is a janitor. The only thing that gave that away was that there was one scene where he was walking into his car. He was playing the radio, and it would change to his hand instead of Jake's hand.
Oh yeah.
And that was when I was like, okay, yeah, this definitely is.
Well, even the first scene, like I was saying, it's I believe the janitor looking out a window, and then it cuts to Jake looking out a window. I'm like, well, I guess that's the same person, maybe. I don't know.
See, I missed that part because I was making popcorn.
But even still, I think that's there, and it's like it's supposed to plant that seed, but you're still not sure. Even if you think you've got it, you're still unsure, like, oh, okay, maybe this is it. I'm not sure, though. I'll have to keep watching. I think that's a great movie aspect, even of this is what it is. Like, so
I like that this movie wasn't intentionally trying to throw you off or anything like that. It literally just gives you hints throughout the movie. And while we're watching this, we were making guesses of what the movie was about. At one point, we thought it was about how this guy was guilty or felt guilty, and he was just struggling with that. He felt guilty that maybe he murdered women.
Yeah,
maybe
I mean, I could see that.
Stuff like that. And then there were a bunch of other guesses. But the way they structured the movie, you really couldn't tell 100%. So,
yeah, a couple of things that still don't add up for me, and maybe you can shed some light. I don't know.
Okay.
Is of the basement.
Yeah.
What I guess from what I can put together, that's just reality, and he doesn't want her to go there or whatever.
Yeah. You got it right.
I mean,
yeah, it's about the reason why he doesn't want to go into that basement is because he's avoiding throughout the movie. Whenever he's like, "Don't go in there" or "Don't look at that," it's basically just his reality. He just doesn't want to show.
Yeah, it doesn't. And then one, I guess I think it makes sense to me is that it's literally it's after dinner, and they look at a picture of all the family pictures, and then she looks at it and it's a picture of her, but then it cuts back and it's a picture of him. I guess that's just kind of the hint of just they're the same person, essentially. And then there's a couple scenes. The one that I can remember is when they're walking out in the cold before they go into the house, a barn door just kind of opens, and I feel like that's just to make it edgy and like scary.
A barn door.
It's like almost a window. Whenever they're walking into the barn, one thing just kind of creepily opens, and I'm just like, "That's interesting."
I didn't know.
I feel like that's 100%. Same with the basement, even, which has its meaning, is that they don't it's supposed to feel scary, and you don't know what's happening. It's almost very Blair Witch, where you don't know what's attacking you. Yeah, but there's nothing in this, but.
It's not like a horror movie.
Yes,
it's definitely it's pretty. I don't want to say suspenseful, but it's very.
I would say it's suspenseful because you just don't know what's gonna happen next. Like you start flipping between the parents' ages, and then all this, and then you start. There's creepy things about the basement, the dog. Like that was one thing, just shaking. That was.
Oh yeah, that dog. That was when I actually started picking things up, that this Jake person was actually the janitor, and that dog wasn't real.
Yes.
So that was when I started thinking, like, yeah, this probably is a fantasy of some sort. But then, Shay just kept telling me, like, oh, this is what this is, or this is what I think it is, and it just fed my mind, and it just made me go through all that other stuff.
There's plenty, and that's what, again, I think the movie's perfectly to do. It's you pick something up and you think you get it, but you're not exactly sure. Yeah. But overall, what the ending, we kind of already mentioned that, is it's the Jake is pretty much, this is all in Jake's head, and he's contemplating suicide as this old man of he's just kind of sick of life, and his life didn't go the way he wanted it to. Yeah. And he was reliving it throughout his night shift at the
well, technically he was in the day shift. He just stays long. Yes. The school is where he felt safe. Yes. And throughout the movie, that's all he does is just clean, because that's the only time he can think and contemplate safely for him.
But overall, this movie...
This is not a breakdown. This is a review. Just saying. Yes.
Yeah. What do you think of overall, like, rating and just thoughts? Because we already gave some stuff we liked.
I give this movie a 10 out of 10.
Really?
Yeah. First one. Yeah.
I'd give it like an 8, because even some of it, the first viewing, like, still, I just couldn't really hook on. I couldn't connect with all of it, I guess.
That's fair. Yeah.
But it's still a great movie, don't get me wrong. Like, the fact I can draw it to being John Malkovich in Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind, which I love both those movies. Yeah. And I would give them probably the same rating of an 8. So it's just almost too psychological for me. I just don't want to think that hard in a movie. So.
I don't either. Like, this was what I wasn't expecting about this movie. I didn't expect to like it. Because it was just like, that car scene was just prolonging. So, and it was just so.
And I think in the second viewing, it makes it so much better. Yeah. You feel like, oh, I get this now. Or at least when you put it together. So overall, it's an excellent movie. Highly recommend. It's on Netflix.
Watch it
I could see this maybe getting nominated for Oscars. I feel like the Oscars will be weird.
For screenplay, I think it should be.
Something like that. So we'll see. It's out. I don't know when the Oscars
came out. Netflix September something like that. August something.
Just came out kind of out of nowhere. I was like, okay, I'll watch this.
Yeah, I was thinking of watching it, but then you kind of encouraged me, and I was like, yeah, I'll go watch it.
Yeah. So, that's our. I'm thinking of ending things. Yeah. Analysis review.
What do you want from us?
whatever you want to call it. I mean, I don't know. I think that's it.